we were just talking about NTU budget before. 71 or 72 million may remain unused at the end of the year. And that excludes that 60 million that was vied out, so 130 million that could go to you and pretty much pay for your operations budget, which should reduce your costs down to just about nil or thereabouts. So we have more students having access. Of course, there's a wider debate about the courses that you offer Remman or something else. But in terms, the financing of SINU is an important conversation that's not been had. And there is need for it. Maybe SINU and SITESA should be talking about, is that a role for SITESA or PS and NTU? But that should happen. We have the money. There's no doubt we don't. We have the money. Even looking at the allowances, Lord students here, if you cut them a little bit down, you have more students, Lord SINU. You pay for their operations budget. You won't need those scholarships. SINU can take care of entry requirements, and it'd be a weeding out process. Long term, that's probably where we want to be. But that conversation needs to happen, and needs to happen right away. So each year we're not looking at this again and again. The way it's done at the moment here, you've got scholarships for NTU, then you've got this MP scholarship, again under NTU, and then you've got this 400,000 for constituency supported, that typically comes back to SINU too. And then there you have, on top of that, more CDF resources that come to SINU. It's all over the place. It's not coordinated. But it does point to the fact that probably school fees tuition fees for SINU are overpriced, and government financing is not cohesive. There's no proper policy guiding it, so it's very inefficient. So if we bring all of these sources of funding, which all come from the same bucket, the consolidated fund, we would be achieving greater numbers of students going to SINU. And it would include the development budget component where Gogolo SINU, which was underfunded in 2024, could still be funded at double the rate and still be within budget. So you could achieve more capacity in both teaching, learning, and research. We must have some research, serious research, by credible researchers at SINU, so we increase the standards and the quality of offerings and put themselves a serious name behind SINU to attract credibility, increase its credibility. But the financing is the enabler. Now that VC is tightening up along our governance and accountability, and also we have a wonderful opportunity to really address the more structural aspects, and financing about our key ones.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. We've had this conversation many times amongst ourselves in terms of financial sustainability, viability, and the future of SINU. And looking at the whole issue of fees and the way fees are structured, looking at the way they are set. And my own personal inclination is that we want to make higher education accessible for our people, and to roll it out to all those young people who are in the suburbs. Every morning they're not going to do any work, but there's huge opportunities for us to diversify our offerings without necessarily having to. There are options such as moving on to developing more online platforms, developing short courses, and so on and so forth, to help develop the capacity. I always remember what the GI Bill did in the United States for 1 million people, where all of a sudden the generation that we are, the current generation of those who've actually discovered Microsoft, Google, and these are the products of the GI Bill. So the government in Solomon Islands probably need a similar kind of GI Bill that would then unleash in one huge goal, people who have some qualifications and skills behind them that they might not necessarily use in teaching or being nurses, but they're in the village and they've got some qualification behind them. So this is a conversation that we've had many times amongst ourselves, and it's a conversation on. I've also been curious and asked about the fee structure, because I've been confronted many times by women, by men, by young people who would like to go to school. They'd like their children to go to school, but they feel that they can't go to school because of school fees. And I personally experienced, not once but twice, what it feels like when you're sent out of school. So my inclination, my sympathies are with those who want their children to go to school but can't afford it. So our real issue is to diversify our sources of revenue. And I believe that there is an interrelationship between the diversification of revenue and what we're doing right now with the review of our academic policies and our but the need for us to have all our programs accredited by SITESA. And that is going to be the process that would inform the review that would result in the reform and the review of the tuition fees, because that process of accreditation will inform us about what the individual needs are going to be for courses. For example, if we're going to be teaching agriculture, for instance, one of the units that is taught in agriculture is livestock. And the next question that an examiner would come and ask when they're doing the accreditation of your agricultural program is, when are livestock very well for shown that the students are actually learning? And there's many, if I can just say that there's a huge gap in terms of learning, in terms of facilities. Many of our students don't have course materials. These things, these are things that are going to be reviewed by the accreditation process. So I'm actually looking forward to that. Hopefully, we've got 4 units that we are subjecting to accreditation, and then hopefully this year the university itself will become an accredited service provider, and that would lead us to the pathway towards actually international recognition of our qualifications at SINU. And that then links us to the need for diversification of our revenue sources, so that we don't always rely on government and fees. Fees would be there to meet your cost, but our biggest fixed cost is our utilities, water, and telecommunication. So we are seriously exploring investments in renewable energy with Solomon Islands Clean Energy and hopefully Solomon Power. We just got for Kukum campus repairs that are going on right now for the solar farm, which is located by the School of Tourism near the School of Public Health. That would reduce some of our utility costs. And we're also exploring maybe piping our own water supply, using our own water catchment. And we're in some serious discussion now with Starlink's regional sales representative in Singapore to invest with them in terms of reducing our utility costs. So if those costs are actually, those are some of the biggest costs. I mean, they are the real huge costs that kill the capacity. If we are able to reduce those costs, and we're making all those serious investments, we are also making some serious progress in terms of our corporate reforms to diversify our revenue. Then we will have the capacity. I'm really confident in looking at reduction of the tuition fees and making it more affordable, and giving our students, having work-ready Solomon Islanders coming out into the
That must be the goal, yeah. I'm just going to suspend sitting 5 minutes, get secretary to photocopy that data so we can have a more meaningful exchange, so members can have a look at it while you're explaining it. And then you may go ahead, just 5 minutes.